Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Bryce from CootieExpressions.org, and today I'm going to be bringing you another music review. And in this review, we're going to be covering the second album of the all-sister group BarlowGirl. And this album is titled Another Journal Entry. This was produced back in 2006 by Word Entertainment, and there was actually two versions of this. There was the regular one that was released, and then there was an expanded edition that was released later. And of course, being the thorough reviewer that I am, I'm going to go ahead and review the expanded version. There are a bunch of acoustic tracks on this that I originally wasn't going to review, but I thought about it and I was like, no, if I'm gonna review the expanded edition and only end up reviewing one song that was released in the expanded edition, then that wouldn't be really fair. So anyway, let's go ahead. We got a lot of tracks to cover. Since we're covering the whole expanded edition, there's about 16 tracks or so on here. So we have got a lot to cover. So let's start at the beginning. This is track one is titled Gray. So this has got kind of really, well, maybe not really, but is an edgy rock style, sort of. So basically, it's kind of, it's got this thing where Alyssa starts off singing. She's like, "Gray's my favorite color," and they do this bit where they're like, "Dun dun dun," and then she keeps singing it, and they do it again, and then they finally kind of get into the song a little bit. So it's supposed to have like that rock feel to it. I think it's very well written, to be honest with you. I love the phrasing of the lyrics. I love the accompaniment. I think that this track is severely underrated. There's a nice tom groove that Lauren's doing in the back during the bridge, and it's just a whole bunch of good things going on musically with this. I think this style really kind of helps complement some of the things that happened in the first album, the good things more specifically, like with Never Alone or even with Mirror. In this one, the singer is basically one who is comfortable being in the middle. Nothing's black or white to them. They're gray. They don't pick a side. They just kind of walk the fence, so to speak. And they're basically tired. Over the course of the song, they're getting tired of living that life, and they want to break that mold. So, and that's a good place, or a good lesson, really, because I think a lot of people, especially Christians, are like that. And really, you just, you can't afford. You got to pick one. You got to pick one side or the other, but you can't just walk the middle for the rest of your life. But anyway, let's move on to track two, and that is "Let Go." So this one, how in the I've talked about this in their first album, how the girls like to throw a little bit of themselves in it, and while it's cheesy, I do appreciate it because they are being them. Well, this song has got one of those kinds of things in it. It starts off with Alyssa saying from the top, and then as the introduction music is starting to go on, she does like this little da ta da ta kind of thing going on, and okay, fine, be you. I don't care. It's not as annoying as some of the other ones that have come about from their songs. So I won't go on too much about that. Anyway, this song it's a really simple groove, really kind of just maybe mellow, but not really too mellow. I mean, it's just a nice little groove kind of thing going on. It's just kind of laid back, and then it transitions into just like this, power rock kind of thing going on in the chorus. That's when they break out the power chords and everything, and like get get your speakers ready because you're going to see the sound waves emerging from them. That's kind of what this thing is like. It's like it kind of surprises you, but it's a really nice sort of surprise. The singer is about to make a step, or in this case, a drop, because it's the way the lyrics describe where this person is. It's like they're hanging off a cliff or something. But basically about to make a step of faith. She's scared. That's really what the whole thing is about. She's scared about doing it, but she's going to do it anyway. And again, another fantastic message for people, especially younger believers, because just all too often we don't trust God enough that He'll take care of us if if we were to try to make that kind of a step. So it's a very good message. Track 3 is I Need You to Love Me. Now, I Need You to Love Me is probably, I'm going to say statistically, was their most popular song, and I think the general consensus would be that, this was one of the best songs that BarlowGirl ever wrote, and I would say for the since this was mid-2000s, we'll say of the 2000 to 2010 period, this was probably one of the best songs that was written. This could easily be considered on a top 10 list. I'm dead serious, because this song was this song. I can't say that it honestly compared to something like I Can Only Imagine, but it was still so popular and was played on the radio so much that this was the definitive song, I guess, when it came to BarlowGirl. This is the one that people associated with, and rightfully so. It's an amazing song. It's kind of got I think I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, because I don't play guitar, so I really don't know how to describe this, but it's it almost has an acoustic sound with the guitar. There's really important guitar part at the beginning that kind of helps sets the feel of the song, and it sounds acoustic. But then later in the chorus, you hear a little bit more of electric. It's not like a blaring rock like in the previous two songs, but you can still kind of tell that it's electric. And after watching the music video and some of the live performances of it, I think what Becca is doing is she's got one of those electric guitars, and then has those foot panels at the bottom, where you can have an acoustic setting to make even an electric guitar kind of sound acoustic for a little bit, and then you pop another pedal with your foot and it changes back to an electric sound. So I think that's what she's doing, and some more evidence of why I think she's doing that is going to be explained when we get to the acoustic version of this song. But anyway, I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, the chorus still keeps, as far as musically, that the rock feel that's been established so far. And I swear, this is what BarlowGirl's sound should have been the entire time that they did this. I love some of the other things that they ended up doing to kind of experiment and play around with. I don't want to sound like I contradict myself from other reviews, but I would have to say this is BarlowGirl's definitive sound, and I just love it. And in comparison to the first two songs, this one's a little bit more contemporary, I guess you could argue, but regardless. As far as the message goes, the singer is amazed that God would want a sinner like her, want someone like her who's a complete screw up or just feels really worthless or anything like that, and later goes on to admit her need for God and His love. So that's really the whole premise of the song, and I know a message like that would really touch on the hearts of people. It did when it came out, and if you have never heard this song and you feel like you're that kind of a person, I would highly, highly encourage you to listen to this song. Next, we're going to move on to track 4, which is Enough. And this is actually Chris Tomlin's Enough. It's a Chris Tomlin cover. Basically the changes, well, here, I'll talk about the musical changes in a second. You know, it's just to remind people of the message of the song. It's about how having God is more than enough to get through life, basically. So let's talk about the musical changes. It's still a fantastic song. It was, my favorite song from the Chris Tomlin Not to Us album. And BarlowGirl, I think, does a very good job with it. I still prefer Chris Tomlin's take on it. I don't know. I think it works a little bit better the way he did it. But the way BarlowGirl did it was pretty good. And some of the changes they made is like, first they made it they did make it a little bit faster. It's a piano start, and it's like, and what I really do appreciate about this is how it really helps display the girls' ability to harmonize with each other, and they sound. This is an example of when they're harmonizing and when they're singing is actually at its best. The three of them sound amazing. There's other songs where they've got their chords that they all sing together, and it doesn't sound as good, or doesn't, in some cases, doesn't even sound good at all. But then you have something like this that really displays the capabilities of how these girls can sound, singing music and harmonizing and everything like that. And it's awesome. It's awesome to listen to. And when they're at that level, that caliber, they are among probably some of the best female groups, of singing like that I think I've ever heard in my life. But again, it's not consistent, unfortunately. But appreciate your moments when you can get them, I guess. So then by the time it gets to the chorus, and then later it keeps the rock feel to it, and it sounds really, really good. I do very much enjoy it. Just because I prefer Chris Tomlin's version does not mean that I hate this. This is awesome. And even though I just spent a good bit praising how they sound so good together in this, there were a couple of vocal things that they did that I thought was a little bit unnecessary. Didn't really add anything to the song, but I can't off the top of my head think of them specifically. But I mean, overall though, the vocals are okay. It's just they threw in a little bit of things every now and then that just didn't feel like it added anything. That's all I can really say about it. But anyway, let's move on to track 5. So this is Porcelain Heart. It's pretty much piano and vocals, but there is a cello. It sounds like a cello to me anyway. It's hard to tell kind of if this song is about a fragile heart, from sin, or if it's the heart is fragile because of an event that's occurred in a person's life. What the singer's specifically addressing. Maybe it could be both. I don't know. But either way, it's a prayer for God to fix what's been broken. And I know this is a popular song. I like it. I'll tell you, I won't put it in my top favorites of the album, but this is kind of like I Need You to Love Me. This has got a very good message about God being able to heal and fix your brokenness, basically. All right, track 6 is Take Me Away, and this has got kind of like a triplet feel to it. Kind of sounds similar to the song On My Own from the first album. The singer feels distracted and empty, and is expressing a desire to get away from everything, really, to find the Lord, spend time with the Lord. And again, it's a good song. I would say, in drawing that comparison to On My Own, it's walking kind of a line of, I mean, it's still got its rockness to it, but like how in On My Own, where it almost had kind of like a country rock sound to it, this one kind of takes that path a little bit. That's just the comparison that I make. That's why I compare it to On My Own. Anyway, let's move on. Track 7 is Psalm 73, and in parentheses, My God's Enough. So, first and foremost, there's a guest singer on this song, Mr. Todd Agnew, and I hope to get to his music eventually. I've got some stuff of his. I haven't gotten around to listening to it yet, but I hope to get to his stuff in because I think it's going to be really good. This to me feels like really aggressive rock, and I describe it as aggressive because you can just feel how a person singing this is like really struggling in their life, and it's struggling specifically, like I have written down here, the singers had enough of living a selfish life, and they really just they want to start living like God is enough for them and everything, and you can feel the war inside their heart basically, and the music really helps complement that. And in the second verse, there's a lyric about, though it's not clear why we suffer, even though it really, when you think about it, kind of is a clear reason why we suffer, because Jesus suffered, and we're disciples of Jesus, and so the disciples, are going to walk in the same path as the rabbi. So that is the reason why we suffer as Christians. But even though we do suffer, though, we'll still live a life where God is enough and He is everything that we need. That's the whole point of the song. I really love the way that this is done musically. I think the message is fantastic. It's a great song. Track 8, I believe, 5 Minutes of Fame. So this has got like some kind of spooky little synth effect or something at the beginning. It's a light, it's got a light swing to it. It's not a jazzy kind of a swing where it's like in a jazz swing, it really emphasizes the swingness to it. This one doesn't, but there's still a bit of a swing to it. The singer basically tells how, though she was at the top in life, I guess she was really successful, things like that. She realized that she was empty, and she gave away so much of who she was, what she had, for something that in reality is so small and doesn't really mean anything. This is another one of those songs that has like a little bit of the girl's quirkiness to it. Lauren kind of talks I'm pretty sure it's Lauren anyway, talks at the start of the song, and then there's a just really kind of at random in the middle of the song, like I think like in the last chorus, there's like the girls all kind of shout 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and and then at the very end, Alyssa starts rambling on about something, I don't know. But anyway, aside from all of those little things, it's a good song. I like it musically because it adds a little bit of variety, and really the message again is fantastic, because this is just a message that a lot of people need to hear. So let's move on to the next track, Thoughts of You. So the piano kind of dominates with this one. There's a little bit of acoustic elements and even some choir elements, just because of the kind of the way that the background vocals, like some of the oohing and stuff that they're doing, kind of reminds me of a choir anyway. The singer reflects on how indebted she is to God, and basically all she can say is that she loves him. So, nice message. It's simple. Next track is No One Like You, and again, so here's a little bit more quirkiness. So Lauren kind of goofs off at the start. She does like this little bit where she's like, just I don't know, just starts doing these little, I guess, practicing drum fills or something. It's like, anyway, she just kind of messes around on the drums at the beginning, and then she just cracks up. She's like, okay, I'll start the song, you know. But anyway, this one is again rock, and I would even say that in parts of this song it kind of hits that country rock sounding again, especially when Alyssa sings the word "you" in the chorus. When she holds that off, it has like kind of a bit of a twang to it, just to kind of give you a feel of what this is like. It's describe this as kind of a boom chick kind of a song, and where, you know, it's fast, and, you know, it's basically just alternating quarter notes between the bass and the snare drum, and it's, you know, you can do a lot of times you know, a lot of times you can do various little things to kind of give it a certain type of feel, and that's really what this is. It's pretty fast, pretty driving even, that's just kind of, I'm not really doing a good job, but I'm trying to give you a understanding of how this thing sounds. Eventually I'm going to be doing a drum cover on it though, so you'll get a better idea then, or you can just actually look up the song, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So the song spends its time talking about how no one is like God. Really, it's, you know, there's really not much else to it. It's a pretty simple message. So yeah, and just to add a little bit more detail, not only does Lauren goof off at the start of it, but there's also some more. You know, there's a thing that they do kind of in the middle of the song where they shout out, you know, "Here we go." And there at the end, there's Alyssa just sounds so country in this, which I guess is not a bad thing if you're into that sort of bit. It's like there's like a, you know, it's kind of got like a rock grand finale or something at the end, and, you know, she's singing yeah and all that. You know, it's just, you know, a little personality thing, and, you know, she even shouts and everything and all that. So I mean, it's, you know, if you look for personality in your singers, then this really is the album for you. Anyway, enough about that. So the next one, and I think this would actually do it for the regular version of the album, but I can't remember for sure. But track 11 would be the Never Alone acoustic version. And so I went back and listened to that, and what the biggest or the difference, I guess, is the girls hold their vocals out a little bit more with this. You know, there's, instead of drums, you've got different acoustic elements. Like you've got like a shaker in the first chorus, a tambourine is present, and you know, the congas are taking place of the drums. Or I'm not sure if it's a conga or not, to be honest with you, because I saw one video where I can't remember what the name of the drum is, but it's like it's a it's an African style drum where it's kind of got like a big head at the top, and it kind of like funnels down to it having a smaller tube or bass or whatever. And like I said, I can't remember what the name of those things are, but it might be that Lauren's actually playing on. I'm not entirely sure, but sounds really good for an acoustic version of it. I mean, obviously, I'm still going to prefer the regular one, but those are really the only changes that I picked up on it. And it's, you know, it's a pretty good acoustic version. You know, check it out. So track 12 would be For the Beauty of the Earth, and this is where we start to get into the expanded edition tracks. For the Beauty of the Earth, you know, it's a classic hymn, and They have a little bit of orchestra going along with this. Actually, the arrangement for this is actually really good. As for the song itself, it's about declaring praise, And again, this is another song that I think really shows how well they can harmonize with each other. This song, this is not going to be like one of my favorites from this album, but as far as the way it's written, the way it came out, if you're looking for music in the sense of not just like a certain type of genre, but like you go like music in the sense of the word that you would hear being played from orchestras or symphonies or things like that. This the way that this is written, just for the sake of its musicality, for the way how it all kind of comes together really musically, is the best out of all of them. I mean, because you have, it's funny because with me, you have genres of music, but then you have, at least I do this. I don't know if other people do this at all, but when I have genres of music, and then I have an idea in my head when I hear the word music that kind of it's a lot broader, but it incorporates so much to it. It's kind of take video game music as an example of that, where it's all, even though it's at least in the old days, back when they used to have to use the the sound engines and the consoles and everything, it was still about orchestration. That was music as opposed to a genre, and that's what I feel like this song is. And so musically, in as a form of music, this song is probably the best out of all of them on the track, or on the album rather. But and yeah, that's really all I can say about this. I mean, it's kind of confusing for me to explain because I know exactly what I'm talking about. But in terms of other songs on the album, there are certainly really good rock songs on here. There's good rock music on here. There's good this kind of music on here. But this is probably the best just music, just generalized, well written orchestral kind of music, and it's very, very pleasant to listen to as a musician. All right, so for the other tracks on here, there's 3 more acoustic tracks and then a radio remix, actually. So track 13 is On My Own Acoustic, and so taking On My Own from the first album, and really, I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of like this version just a little bit better just because of what happens at the beginning. It gets right into it. It does not, waste any time, which I like. I felt like the first one kind of took a little bit much to develop or to get started in the song, but this one just basically gets right into it. And I think this one too also really helps display how good Becca's guitar playing really is, or can be. But that's really all I have for it. I don't want to go back into describing the song and everything because I've already reviewed it. All of these I've actually already reviewed already. So the next one is Porcelain Heart's Acoustic. Now you might be thinking, as I did, how do you make an acoustic version of this song? Well, you take away the cello, and Alyssa will hold out some phrases, on the piano, but it's really more coming from her vocals. She'll kind of extend some phrases, and this is a common thing that happens, especially when you're not working with drums. How you'll kind of overextend something by like a half a beat, but it's when you're dictating the music, you can do things like that. It's harder to do with drums, even though I know some people who like to still do it anyway. But enough of that. I feel though, because there's not as much. I mean, I think like the mixing in the original Porcelain Heart was really good, and I thought everything had a very nice blend to it. In this, though, Lauren's vocal track feels like it has too much on it. It feels a little bit too dominant for this. Like she kind of stands out instead of it being that blend, which I can't imagine why in the world they would do that, but unless I don't know. But anyway, that's really the only complaint that I have with it. And then track 15, I Need You to Love Me, acoustic version. So this one, the piano kind of plays with the guitar at the beginning instead of it just being guitar. And honestly, I kind of don't like it because the guitar, like I said earlier, the guitar has so much of an important part in setting up the feel of this song that having the piano play in equality with it, I feel ruins the setup of the song, even in an acoustic version like this. Here's a good thing though, I guess you can call it a good thing. Remember what I was saying earlier though about how I thought that when they recorded the original version of this, Becca was using an electric guitar, just had an acoustic setting that she could go to on one of those foot pedal things. Well, I think in this she was actually using a real acoustic guitar because I was listening closely and I heard the guitar sounds more open to me. It sounds, instead of sounding like tight strings, it sounds a lot more open. Like it sounds and almost like a little bit. You can almost kind of sense a little bit more vibration even in the strings. I mean this credit whoever recorded that because the fact that the mic was able to pick that up is amazing. But that's kind of the evidence I have. Guitar players out there, listen to me, or not listen to me, but listen to this and compare for me. Give me some feedback and let me know if you think I've got it right. One other little minor complaint I have about this acoustic version, though, I would have liked more conga or bongos, involved in this. There is a little bit in there, but I feel like they could have done it similar to Never Alone's acoustic version, where it played a little bit more prominent role. It was actually, playing a groove in the song instead of just playing every now and then. I feel like there was a missed opportunity there. If you're not going to have that, at least have a shaker. This song needs a rhythm thing happening, and it wasn't there. It just felt incomplete. But anyway, finally, the last track is Never Alone Radio Mix. Basically what they did was they ended up cutting out 20 seconds of the song, and they made cuts in the intro right before the second verse, and also a cut right before the final, I guess, call it a pre-chorus, I guess, where Alyssa starts singing, "We cannot separate, because you're part of me, and though I haven't," yeah, that's, I guess you'd call that a pre-chorus, but there's a little bit of a cut, and the cuts that happen, let me just give a quick shout out to whoever edited that. Well done in the editing, because if you didn't know the song as well or the original song as well as I do, you would probably never be able to pick up where those cuts were. So amazing editing job on that. Congrats. All right, so that's all the whopping tracks. This is probably one of the longest reviews I've done in a while. I still got to go back and edit out some things, but this is like one of the longest reviews I've done in quite some time. So what do I think about this album? Well, this album takes all the problems that I had with the first one and completely shatters them. God, it's just miles ahead. Just remarkable difference. There's no song on this that I don't like or would not suggest anyone listening to, at least once or anything like that. I mean, just there's every single one of these tracks is awesome. I feel like there's so much more energy in this album, even in the serious songs. The music was so well written. Album just put together well. Maybe you could have switched around, like "Take Me Away" and "Enough" to kind of maybe not make the beginning of it so rock heavy. If you wanted to just kind of play around with the structure like that, you could have done something like that, I guess. But that's nitpicking at best. And the mixing I thought on this was probably one of the best mixing I've heard. I mean, at least in recent albums that I've reviewed. Anyway, this is like one of the better mixing jobs that I have ever reviewed. I love this album. It is the best album that BarlowGirl put out, and the only reason I know that is because I've listened to their other album, the other two albums that they put out. This is the best album, just bar none. Is it the best out? But I say that, but is it the best album that I've ever heard ever? Well, no, but that having been said, I'm still going to give it a 4.6 out of 5. What separates this from something like Sidewalk Prophets is that Sidewalk Prophets can take so many different styles and make it their own and still have every single track come out completely flawless. This album is mostly one style, for the most part, but they nailed it, and they nailed it so well. It's a reflection of the group, I think. I really think this is just who BarlowGirl was. This album as a whole really just was who they were at their core. There were times where they didn't do well with what they were, what they weren't comfortable. Yeah, I'm tripping over my words. What they weren't comfortable with, but with this, they were comfortable, and they were exceptional at it. And in that, being comfortable with this, really kind of helped them take, even though they did most of this in the same style, they were able to create enough different things musically that didn't keep the album from going stale, I think. And that's why I really, really enjoy it. So, now for the tough part, I've got to mention my favorites. How do you pick favorites on an album like this? Well, I'll say this. Here, I like Gray, I Need You to Love Me, and Psalm 73, My God's Enough. Those are my top 3 favorites of this. I also really like Let Go, Porcelain Heart, 5 Minutes of Fame. I would put those all at second tier recommendations. But that having been said, though, everything else is just fine. Even the acoustic stuff, where that's ironically where I had the most complaints about. But even the acoustic stuff, go take a listen to it. It's nice to hear, how a song can be done differently. So go check it out. It's a fantastic album, and it was an absolute joy to review. But anyway, I have been rambling long enough. Thank you guys so much for listening to this. I hope to have more music reviews done for you soon. But in the meantime, please check out all of my other stuff. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. And as always, take care.